Hello from Myrtle Beach. Today we're going to talk with you about what it is really like to live at Myrtle Beach, whether you should move to Myrtle Beach, all the pros and cons that you should consider about living here at Myrtle Beach. Hi, I'm Carmen. If you're new here, we cover everything Myrtle Beach and the surrounding area. If you're a return viewer, welcome back. We are so glad to have you with us. You are here with us on a gorgeous, gorgeous day in the off season. I know there's a few people out, but we're fully in the off season and it is just so beautiful. Everybody's out and about, including us. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous day today. So as you know, or you may not know, if you're new to our channel, we moved here a few years ago. We're going to talk about that. Before that, we had a vacation home here for 20 years. And before that, we had family that lived here. So we've spent a lot of time in this area. We're very familiar with it. But just to give you a background, we moved from North Carolina and we moved from a large city in North Carolina. So that's our frame of reference. I think that will help you as we go through the pros and cons so you can compare it to your own personal situation, because some of the things I'm going to talk about, especially cost related things, if you're moving from a small rural area, things here may be more expensive. But if you're moving from a large city, they may be less expensive. And if you're moving from the Northeast or California, it's definitely going to be less expensive. I can tell you that right off the bat. But just remember where we're from when you're thinking about these things we're talking about. So this is the beautiful life that you will have if you move here. I mean, it's not like this every day. Of course, we get rain, we get some minor cold snaps. I know you're going to be like, oh, you got a ton of snow this winter. That lasted 2-3 days and then it was gone. I mean, it's very infrequent. That was the most snow we'd had since 1989. So it's not a frequent occurrence here. We do get cold weather. It's usually in January, sometimes February. Sometimes the very end of December can be cold. But most of the time it is not too bad here. The weather is pretty moderate and you get days. We've had many days in February in the 70s this year. So you get a lot of pleasant days in the off season. So that's definitely, I would say most of the weather is a pro, but we'll get to a few things related to weather. So let's move on. I'm actually going to start with talking about, I guess you call them cons. Some of the things this is our personal experience. We are not realtors. If you have questions that are for, where should I move? What kind of house should I get? Or should I get a condo? Definitely find a good realtor in this area. We don't have any specific one to recommend. So definitely look for a realtor if you have those kind of questions. We wanted to talk to you as real people who moved here as opposed to realtors who are trying to talk you into moving here. We have no bias other than we do like it here. I'll just say that up front. But we don't have any reason to try to convince you to move here. That's totally up to you. So one con you might not think about until you live here, it's the traffic. Even though we spent many years coming here, the traffic during the tourist season, which is primarily May through early September, really the traffic starts getting better around mid-August, but May through end of May, Memorial Day through mid to end of August, the traffic is incredibly heavy in certain areas. And I'm talking like you want to go to the grocery store from your house and it's 3 miles down the road and you sit in traffic for 30 minutes. I'm talking about that kind of traffic. So the reason I bring that up is not to dissuade you from coming here or anything. It's to think about what your real life is going to be like. It's different when you come here on vacation. And so you're just going to take your time. You're not in a hurry to get anywhere. You're not trying to run errands or do doctor's appointments or hair appointments or, grocery store. You're just, having a good time and having fun. And so you're not really thinking about how long it takes you to get from point A to point B. Once you live here, especially if you're still working full-time while you live here, that can get a bit frustrating. So it's just something to keep in mind. Conversely, though, and this would be on the pro side, we don't have a lot of rush hour traffic. Yes, there is some, but it is not nearly as bad as a large city. So if you are commuting to a job, it may not be as bad depending on where you're working. But that traffic situation may depend on where you want to live. So the closer to the ocean you live and the more central in Myrtle Beach you live, the more the traffic is going to be. So sometimes I get people ask me, should I move to Conway or should I move to Carolina Forest where it's a little more inland or something like that? That is definitely something worth considering if you don't like the traffic, because the further inland that you get, the less of that really tight tourist traffic you're also going to get, because that's going to be more here. So we're right by the boardwalk, as you can see. We're next to Hotel Row. This is where all the big hotels and resorts are. So that's going to be where the majority of the traffic is. So that's definitely a consideration. For us, we've had people ask, how close to the beach do you live? We live 5 to 10 minute drive, depending on the day and the traffic, from the beach, because we wanted to be able to go to the beach every day if we want to. That was one of our goals, was to be able to quickly get to the beach. So that's basically the distance we have to get to the beach. So another huge consideration, that's what CON stands for, consideration, is you want to think about, do you need specialty health care? And when I say specialty, I'm talking about outside the normal. So there's plenty of health care here for normal health care. I would even say for cancer and heart and orthopedic care. I would say all those are pretty well covered here. There is a large senior population here, a large retiree population here. So the typical aging ailments are pretty well covered. But if you have a specialty condition that requires, say, a neurologist, a rheumatologist, endocrinologist, I could go down the list. There are very few of those in this area. And there's actually, I was kind of shocked, there's not a ton of dermatologists that are actually an MD. And you'd think with the sun and the skin cancer, there would be a lot of those. But there's plenty of like nurse practitioners and that kind of thing. But to get an actual specialist can be challenging. And you may need to go to Charleston to MUSC to find a specialist. And that's a 2-hour drive from Central Myrtle Beach. So and that's one way. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. And then for me personally, I'm just going to mention one thing. Since we moved from a bigger city, I missed some of the amenities that we had. We had a large airport that went to lots and lots of places directly. The Myrtle Beach Airport is small. It is called International, but that's only because it goes to Canada. So it is not a huge airport. You're most likely, if you're going to go somewhere, with a few exceptions, going to have to go through either Charlotte in North Carolina, or you're going to have to go through Atlanta. And so that's just something to keep in mind as well. If you love travel like we do, we love to travel. However, if you move here, you're not going to be that far from Florida. So if you like to do things in Florida, you're not going to be as far. Depending on where you're going in Florida, you're talking about 8-9 hour drive. Still far, but not terrible and definitely drivable. I missed, that's funny, the amenities are coming to me. If you go back and watch our old video after we had lived here for a year, and by the way, we're going to get that question, how long have we lived here? We have lived here, we moved here in 2022, it's 2025, so not quite 3 years. We've been here not quite 3 years. The amenities are coming to me. I went back and watched my old video that we did after we lived here a year. I said I missed Trader Joe's, I missed Whole Foods, and I missed the Apple store. We still don't have a Whole Foods or an Apple store, but we do have a Trader Joe's moving to this area. Supposedly, it's in the rumor state right now, but they're already building the building, and it looks like that's probably going to be it. It's actually a little down south. I think it's still a Myrtle Beach address, but it's closer to Surfside Beach. But that is coming. So, I guess one way to look at that is, yes, right away you might not have some of the things you enjoy, but they are coming. As the population grows here, there's a lot of, people moving here all the time. The population is definitely growing. Let's talk about some money-related things. So homeowners insurance, because we live here where there are hurricanes, it is expensive, at least compared to where we used to live. We think it's about 3 times. We don't know, we can't remember exactly what we used to pay, but we think it's about 3 times more than what we used to pay for a, reasonably similar house. Now, the flip side of that, which this goes on the pro side, and I'm going to get to a lot more pros, don't worry, but on the pro side is for most people, the property tax will be lower here. It depends on where you're coming from, but for most people, that will be cheaper here. We got a little river. I'm going to go around this as we keep going. Let me jump over this so I can concentrate here. So, car insurance is another thing that surprised us. South Carolina apparently has one of the worst driving records of all the 50 states. And so the car insurance is expensive here too. It's much more than we were expecting when we moved from North Carolina. So that's something to keep in mind. And then this may be super obvious, and it's not specific to moving to Myrtle Beach, but we actually moved from a place where we had pretty much lived our whole lives. So we had tons and tons of friends, family, And so we miss our friends and family. I will say I still miss them, I still love them, but over time that has changed. Like I said, I still miss them, but compared to, I went back again and watched that video after we'd been here a year. I remember I was still really, I don't know if I'd call it homesick, I was people sick. I missed the friends and family. Still do, but it's not the same level because you're gonna make new friends, you're gonna meet new people, you're gonna get involved in new activities, but those things take time. When you first move in, you're busy getting your house settled and all that, but over time you're gonna get to know people and that won't be quite the same, but you'll still miss them. And so that's something to keep in mind if you're like us and this is like a big move for you where you haven't moved around a lot in the past. So let's move on to the good stuff, the pros. This is the biggest one right here. I mean, unless you don't like the beach, and if you don't like the beach, I'm not sure why you're considering Myrtle Beach. This is just huge. I come here so much. It is just, it never gets old to me. You know, like I said, we've been here almost 3 years and vacationed here for years. Wow, that is a hardcore guy. The ocean water is not warm yet. But anyway, this just doesn't get old. This is why you're here, really. Another big draw, not for us, we are not golfers, but for a lot of people is the golf. This is a huge golf area. There's tons of like really state-of-the-art golf courses, but there's also a ton of mini golf if you're into mini golf, so that's another plus. And then another big plus of living here is there's a lot of locals discounts, and it took us a while to learn them. A lot of restaurants have locals discounts. Always ask. If you move here and you have a driver's license that shows you live here, always ask. Tons of attractions have locals discounts as well. And so that can really, really help out with the money once you move here. And then also I got another little river here to cross. Also, there is annual passes to a lot of things that save you a ton of money. All the Ripley's attractions, including the aquarium, Brook Green Gardens, both of the state parks, the Skywheel, and probably many, many more I'm not listing. And so then you can go do those things all you want and you're not paying each time you go. Also, another big pro to us, this might not appeal to everybody, is it's flat here. So if you like to bike, that's good for biking. If you like to walk, it can be good for walking, depends on what kind of walking you like. If you have mobility issues, that can help you too, because you're not having to go up and down hills. There's not as many stairs that you have to navigate. So that's something to think about too. Another huge one for us is we do not have to travel to have fun. We're already here. We still love to travel, but just because we like exploring. But used to, we would come here almost every other weekend because we love it so much. And there's so much to do here, which is actually, that's another point that I wanted to talk about. Where we used to live, it was kind of boring. I mean, I'm not trying to bash it or anything, but there just wasn't a lot of entertainment. Here, there is so much to do, so many things to do, and if you're an outdoors person, this is definitely a mecca for you. So you don't have to travel to have a good time and have interesting things to do and enjoy. Another plus, I know I talked about negatives related to medical care, but a plus is they are planning a pretty large expansion of the South Strand Hospital. So that's definitely a good thing. And that could eventually bring more specialists to the area. So that might help with that other issue that I mentioned. Also, I mentioned the Trader Joe's coming. There's also now a Del Taco coming. I don't know if you're a fan of Del Taco, but Brian is. So that's another pro on our list. And then we get this question all the time. Is the cost of living just overall cheaper? Again, it depends on where you're coming from, but I would say overall probably yes. And I'm not talking about the specific property taxes and insurance and that kind of thing I mentioned. I'm talking about day-to-day life with groceries and with gas. Now, I will give you the tip. Don't buy gas on Kings Highway where all the tourists are. Go to Costco if you have a Costco membership, Sam's Club if you have a Sam's membership, or your favorite grocery store. So like if you shop at Walmart, you shop at Kroger, wherever, those are the best places to go and get gas. But the gas tax in South Carolina is super cheap and compared to other states. So gas is pretty cheap. I would say groceries are either cheaper or comparable from where we moved from. Definitely not more. So I would say yes. I would say the overall cost of living here is cheaper. If you have questions about living here, about moving here, like I said, not realtor questions, but just questions for regular folks who live here, definitely leave those in the comments and we will do our absolute best to answer them. If you'd like to learn more about Myrtle Beach and the surrounding area, be sure to click on the video on your screen right now. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.